Hi, everybody. It's Jeff Webb, director of the Johnstown Symphony Chorus. Today, we're talking with a member of our soprano section, Anita Lorek. Anita, how are you?
I'm very good today. Thank you. And yourself?
I am hanging in there, hanging in
Yes,
there. Yeah,
like we all are. Yes.
yeah, it's been a trying time to say the least, to be cooped up in the house. Anita, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background? Like, what are you doing right now? What's your occupation right now?
I am a dance instructor.
Okay.
I own the Dance Academy. I teach all kinds of dance. I have a degree in dance from Point Park, well, was Point Park College at the time. It's now Point Park University. I went in actually, it's interesting, I went in as a theater arts major and changed halfway through into a dance major. So I did, but I did do, like productions there. Came out, got married, and opened up my dance school. So
Are you from Pittsburgh originally?
no, I'm actually from Mundy's Corner.
Oh, okay. What took you then to Point Park? I mean, it's not, it's close in proximity to.
Well, let me say this. I was a person that never went anywhere. I'm a middle child in between two brothers, and my mother and father were, of course, when I was interested in the performing arts, they were just terrified that I was going to go off to New York City and make it big and forget them the rest of my life. You know how that kind of is. So we kind of just came to a middle ground. When I found out that Point Park was eventually going to be open to dance, they were in cooperation with the Pittsburgh Ballet Theater at the time. Since then, they have separated. But at the time, the Pittsburgh Ballet Theater was actually housed at Point Park College. So, but I had to go in as a theater arts major because the dance major wasn't developed quite yet. So halfway through, it developed where I could actually go into dance as my major.
So you essentially were using theater as a means to an end.
Yes. Because there was a place close enough. My parents could get there within an hour and a half. I was close enough home, and but yet I got to do what I wanted to do. So I just knew I wanted to do some form of. I wanted to be in dance because that's what I had done growing up was dance. Did a little bit of vocal stuff, not a lot. But I sang with our church choir and things like that. And of course, in high school, I was in the musicals at high school. But dance was my main thing. And Point Park ended up almost like, it was like, I don't know, how would you say, kind of like a surprise. Our school went down to Point Park to go to look at the school. It was a trip for the school. And I picked up a brochure and I brought it home and went led to another. So that's where I ended up. So I ended up actually, like I said, I was I did some productions at the Pittsburgh Playhouse at the time. Okay. Now, of course, they have the new Playhouse downtown,
right?
Which is amazing. If you get a chance to see it, it is amazing. And I was a junior member of the Pittsburgh Ballet Theater.
It's so interesting to me sometimes how little things lead to other things. You went on a school trip.
Yes.
To see the college and picked up a brochure and said, yes, I will go. And I kind of, for college, had the opposite thing happen. I applied to a particular college because I was told that I would get a lot of scholarship money, but had never actually gone to the college to visit it and see it. And got into the college and went to the college. But when I got there, I was like, man, had I come on a trip to see this college, I probably would not have gone here.
Oh, my.
And every day, I thank my lucky stars that didn't happen because I loved it. I love going where I went to Allegheny College in Meadville.
Okay.
I loved it and would not trade it for the world. But had I gone on a trip to see it, I'd have been like, pass.
Yeah, it is always funny the way things happen. Just kind of work out. I'm always kind of like that one that kind of works out the way it's supposed to in a way.
Right.
You do this connection here, this connection there, and in the long run, you end up kind of where you're supposed to be.
Tell me a little bit more about the dance. So how did you start to take lessons? You took lessons as a child?
Oh, yes. I took lessons. As a child, as a very young child, I was extremely shy, extremely. My mother, of course, kind of thought, well, and again, me being the only girl in the family, and my mother always wanted to dance. So she had a friend who was teaching dance at the time from Evansburg, and it was Rita Raffis, who ended up becoming almost like a second mother to me. I started dance lessons, and when I did start, my mother had to come and stand on the floor with me. I was so shy, I would not even stand there without her. And she was going to stop because, this was not getting any better. But my grandfather, of all people, kept saying, no, you bring her back. You just keep bringing her back. And, one thing led to another. And eventually my mother could leave the floor. And I was there for up until, that was age 4 or 5. And I was there till I graduated high school.
Is there any maybe ballet or show that you would really like to choreograph that you haven't yet?
That's a good question, because when I do my recitals, I do a lot of my own choreography for various things, but I always try to do some repertoire from major ballets. So I've kind of felt my favorites were like Swan Lake, and I've done those with my students. I've not done them. I mean, I've done some pieces of them in when I was at Point Park in the corps. I've had a little bit of experience of doing a little bit of all the ones that I really like.
Okay.
As far as the ballets go. Musicals, there's tons of musicals I'd love to do. I do musicals. I do the choreography for Bishop McCourt. I work with Jeannie Curio. So I've had the opportunity to do a good many of the musicals that I like also. So I really haven't thought about, oh man, I would really like to do this one or that one, because I just feel whatever opportunity I have, I want to do whatever is brought to me. So,
right.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how you got to the symphony chorus. How long were you in the group?
Again, I did some singing as a young student. I had a few little music lessons from here and there, nothing major. When I went to Point Park, I was doing some musicals, and my favorite that I loved the most was Amal and the Night Visitors, because I got to dance in that and sing in the chorus. So that was like, I loved it. So when I did come out and, I got to the studio, started having my family, our church needed cantors. So I started cantoring I'm in St. Michael, and I started cantoring. But it's interesting, through all the teaching that I did, because when you're teaching dance, you've got music playing, if you're teaching tap dance, you've got taps going, you've got kids. I was not using my voice correctly as a teacher. I ended up having polyps. I had to have them removed. It was miserable. I couldn't sing at church. And my mother, at the age of 70, started taking piano lessons. And the lady that she took piano lessons from is Elizabeth Lane, who also sings in our chorus. Right. And so I started voice lessons with her, and she said, go join the JSO. So I did. And that's how I got there. So
how long ago was that?
Going on, probably 11 years. Let me see. My husband passed about 10 years ago, and I was in about 2 years before that. So I've been in about 12 years.
Wow. It's an amazing story.
I mean, like I said, I love performing. I love the musical side of performing, the dance, the physical side of it. And I've been lucky enough to do the ballets. I've been lucky enough to do the musicals. And now, with the JSO, and I also sing with the community chorus, the Johnstown Community Chorus. So with the JSO, we have a lot of this, good classical things, plus other things that we do. But, there's this really heavy classical area. And with the community chorus, we do some, but we're more on the pop side, a little bit more. So I get a wide range. I'm one of those persons, when you have, if you have your playlists, I go from one weird thing to the other. It's never, and I don't like listening to one person through a whole album. I don't like that, because I like the variation. And I talk a lot with my hands. So that was.
Yeah, you brought up something that is important. This discussion of you as a teacher having a vocal injury. You have been singing for me now for the last 2 years.
Right.
And that's something that I try to be very cognizant about for me. That's a long rehearsal. 2.5 hours is a long time. Yeah. And by the time we get to symphony chorus rehearsal, I've been teaching all day. but it's one of these things that we as teachers have to think about, taking care of our own selves.
Exactly.
Making sure.
Well, excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt you, but even because I'm teaching my dance classes through Zoom now.
Right.
And I find I have to stop myself because I don't know if I'm worried they're not hearing me, but I find myself raising my voice and I don't really have to.
Right.
And I don't know if it's a combination of just making sure I'm getting to them, making sure they can hear me, there's music playing. It's a whole together different type of thing where you have to learn how to deal with that.
Right. And quite frankly, I'm dealing with the same thing, not quite to the same level you are, because you are actually trying to do the teaching of dance,
right,
the performance medium on Zoom.
Yeah.
I am not doing that per se. I'm teaching classes, but they're more lecture classes on Zoom. But you're right. In a classroom, you're talking to a space to a degree. Here, I'm talking to an isolated box.
Right.
And so it's a totally different thing. And yet, in the classroom, I am more prone to use my voice in a better way. And here, on this box that's right in front of me, you like you said before, you're just like,
Yeah, I'm getting better. Every class seems to be better. It's not, I'm getting more used to it. The talking, but even the visual, because I have at one point 8 people that I have to be watching at the same time I'm speaking to them and giving them instructions. I think it's very good for my brain because it has become new challenges in a way.
Good.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Tell me about being in the symphony chorus. You've been in it now for several years. What does that mean to you? What are some of the highlights of your participation in the chorus over that?
Well, it's an artistic outlet for me that I don't have to be in charge of.
Yeah, okay.
I come and you decide what we're going to go over. You decide how much we have to get done today. That's not me. I don't have to worry about, I love all the artistic stuff, but in my dance after all the years, it's always, and I am the sole owner of I have teachers, but I am I do the book work, I do everything. So when I come to chorus, I'm just there to sing, I'm just there to sing. It's your job to worry if we get enough done for that day. It's your job to worry that we have the space available, and I don't have to worry about that. Yeah. So that's one thing. And I just do enjoy singing. I like all kinds of music. I like the challenges of the different music.
Do you have a favorite from your time with the chorus?
That's a good question. I don't know, because as I go back, certainly the different masses we've done and the different, the different composers. And I have to say this, I am not one to remember names of things. I'm awful with that. If I hear something, I go, oh, I know that. I remember when we did that. I am terrible with names. I am terrible, like with people, even with music. You listen on the radio. I know that song. I could never tell you in a zillion years who played half that stuff. So I don't know if I really have a favorite yet. I like to be doing different things. And I mean, I love Messiah and I think it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't excite me like it used to. When I first did it, the first year I did it, I could not go to sleep. I would wake up in the middle of the night with these songs just, like those, what they call a worm in your head. And I could not get them out of my head. And then I would, have to wake up and actually have to go either look at the music or do something so I could go back to sleep because it was there constantly, because now when we do it all the time, and there's always, we know you can do that how many times you want. And every time you learn something new about it, you learn a better way of doing it. And I appreciate that. And I do. And like I said, and I will do it for as many times, but it doesn't excite me like it does, like it used to, unfortunately. And I hate to say that, but it's true,
Yeah, I think one of the challenges with a piece like Messiah that everybody does all of the time. So typically the symphony chorus and the Johnstown Symphony does that piece every other year. So at this point, let's assume like you've been here 12 years now, you've done it 6 times.
Yeah.
Now you've done it with 2 different orchestra conductors, Ishvan and James?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So there's a level of difference in between how Ishvan would do it,
right,
and how James would do it.
And the first year we did it with James, it brought back a little bit more excitement because it was different. He went and he he works differently and he brought different things out on us. So, yeah, it was definitely a little bit better that time,
Right. But now this will be the third time.
I know, yeah.
And so for me, as the director of the chorus, that is, you brought it up, and so I'll talk about it now really quickly, but that is something that I have thought about a lot, which is, there's people in the chorus who have been there. You've been there 10 years. There's people who have been there 20 years.
Oh my God, I know.
People who have been there 40 years.
Yeah. So how many times have they done that?
Yeah, they've sung Messiah over and over and over again. And what's the trick to making it not redundant? What's the trick to still making it exciting for you to sing it, And I think the first time we did it last year, I think there was an element of, there's a new chorus director here.
Right, and it made a little bit more, yeah.
Correct. But now, this coming year, what are we going to do? And so I have some particular thoughts about that we're going to look at. But, it's one of the things you mentioned earlier. When you're in charge, you have to really think these things through. Because what I don't want is for you as the singer to just be on autopilot as you go.
Right, to be bored with it, because that's the type of performance you give out then, yes.
That's right. And, most people will go to the concert and love it, but you want your singers or players to really be enthralled and enthusiastic about what they're doing,
And the more you work on things, you find these little things and you bring out different things. And that's what makes it a little bit more exciting, of course, because, I have to, you know what? I never really knew that was how that line actually went. Yeah. Because sometimes we do it by rote, and you don't get those exact. And I'll sit back at the piano and go, I have not been singing that for like the last 10 years. That's not what I was singing. Yeah.
It's a total sideline, but I had a funny experience of doing that in a musical, actually.
Okay.
I was doing Ain't Misbehavin' several years ago, and we did it one year, and then the next year we did it again. And with the same cast practically, and we were working on a song, and I was playing this line for whoever the singer was, and she said to me, "That's not what I sang last year." I said, "Well, this is what you were supposed to have."
Yes, yeah.
It's the same thing. You just.
And I always say that's my artistic license to do it that way. Yeah.
Anita, you were telling me a couple of minutes ago that you are one to listen to a bunch of different stuff. What are you listening to now in this particular time where we are in this, stay-at-home lockdown situation? What kind of music is getting you through this?
Well, I have to say this, I really have not been listening because I've been working on choreography for my students. So I've been listening to my music. Now, I don't know if I can say this correctly. And again, one of the pieces we're working on, it's a farandole from an opera, a Lartigue. I don't have it written here. It's a French piece, but when you hear it, it's that old Christmas. It sounds like that Christmas. It's a French dum 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 da dum da dum da dum da dum dum dum. That piece. Yeah, maybe you've heard that, I'm sure. But that's one of the pieces we're working on, and another piece we're working on is ballet. It's called La Bayadère.
Okay.
And so this is my music, because this is what I do. I have to work on my music, and because my students, I have to make physical notes for them to give them, so that that's, when I'm not working on that, I'm probably doing something with no music at all, and I hate to say it. Yeah. There are some pieces, like I did send you that, I sent you a piece. Did you get that? I sent an email.
I did, yes.
That, again, is one of my favorite. We did that with Kim Rock. It wasn't really so much with the community chorus. It was just kind of a off thing. It was people from all over different places. And we did that as, it was right before Thanksgiving several years ago back. I just fell in love with the piece. It's on a contemporary side, but it's based on the Our Father, which, at this time of the year was very appropriate. So when I travel, I have my CDs in there with me, and I have that piece. And I have, what's her name? The one from, let's see, I told you I'm horrible with names. She was on the British, she sang Les Mis, the song from Les Mis. Oh my gosh, I'm terrible.
Then Susan Boyle?
Susan Boyle. I have a CD from Susan Boyle. I have a CD from this, oh my gosh, and I can't think of her name either. That's horrible. My brother gave me. She's She's Greek. I'll have to send you that. Honestly, I can't think of her name, but I have a CD, and she sings all these old kind of 50s, 60s songs, which I like, you know, the old ballads and the things like that, but absolutely gorgeous voice she has. And then my brother, who is a major big band fiend, I mean, he is major big band. He has a collection of 33 and a third and 78s.
Oh, okay.
That you would die for. He will make me copies of just songs that he knows I like. So, you know, like that's what I said. And I have a little bit of that. And then I will actually Messiah's in my CDs, and I have Beethoven's Ninth, and, you know, various different ones that we have done.
Getting ramped up for the fall.
Yes, I know. And then, you know, we throw the radio on whenever you're maybe cooking supper or something like that, and that's about it.
Do you find a lot of overlap in what you do as a singer in the symphony chorus and some of the things you're doing in dance?
Every once in a while, like the musical pieces, say community chorus. We were when we were performing, getting ready for our spring. Mm-hmm. We were doing a whole Broadway section, and actually one of the pieces from that we were going to be doing from Sweet Charity is
Life.
Yes. And that's one thing.
Let's see if this dart hits the board.
Yes, I'm doing that as an opening number. So a lot of that stuff will overlap. We have done many pieces and that we've done, you know, that we have sung in community chorus, and some pieces that we have done. Well, like, you know, we've always done some Nutcracker stuff. We've always done, again, the classical ballets. Because I, in my studio, teach ballet, tap, jazz, you know. My teachers, we've done a lot, like with the tap, I like them to keep the old standards, you know. We're doing quite a few Beatles songs this year for the show. Yes. Come Together, what's the other one? Yeah.
So, you know, I teach a course on the Beatles.
Oh, no, I did not know that. Oh, wow, very good. Yeah, so I mean, we use a lot of that kind of stuff. And we like to get things like, of course, the hip hop, you try to keep with what the kids are listening to. And I'm just glad I don't deal with that because, you know, I tried doing hip hop when they were around and they laugh at me, but whatever. I was classically trained. And even though I think it's fun, you know, it's not me. That's why I have the younger teachers. But we do a lot. Well, as you know, Christina taught for us. Christina, teaches tap and jazz and hip hop for me. So, you know, but we, like I said, do like to stick a lot of times to the standards, the old, you know, and from the musicals. They've got the better beats, and they've got the show that younger kids can follow, you know, that are easy to follow. I come from a family. My father could play pretty much anything. He played everything by ear. He would pick up a violin. He played a violin. That was his main. Growing up, he was in Slovak orchestras. He was in country orchestras, bands, and he played a bass. My grandfather played a button accordion. My brother plays a regular accordion. My other brother plays a trumpet. My mother played piano. I play piano. So, you know, we always had music. When our family would get together, and my cousins, second cousins, they all played guitars, and it was just, picnics were always music. So that's when we were singing that Slovak song or whatever, you know, the one we were preparing.
Yes,
we did that as a Czardash, you know, and my daughters were in a Russian Orthodox dance group, and they danced to that song all the time.
Right.
And you know, it was just something that I've grown up with that song.
Did you know the language?
No, I didn't. I mean, I can hear what people used to be singing, and I can recognize some of what they were singing years ago back. Well, now I don't think I would, but no, I never picked up the language, unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Anita. I appreciate you talking with us today.
It was fun. This was very nice. You know, it's nice with our core JSO. I mean, I think it's great how it's grown. It really has grown these last 2 years with you, but because it's getting larger, I don't know as many people.
Yeah, right.
You know, and maybe you know some in the other sections just because you knew them before or whatever. But there was so many in the alto, in the men, the newer ones, I don't know at all. And I think this is a good way to, to learn to meet them. And it's nice because I have made some very good friends throughout the years, through that. And hopefully, we'll all be there back as soon as we possibly can.
Yeah. Looking forward to getting back to the business of making music.
When it was one of the last practices or something, you had said about how getting ready for class, it's such a pain, getting ready, working, sitting down, thinking how much I'm going to get done, what I want to have to go over. But then when you get into that rehearsal and you make that, it's like an altogether different thing.
Yeah, it's the best thing.
Yeah, and I felt the same way when I have to start choreographing. And not that I don't like choreographing, but it's just getting started and knowing I have to have all this done. And there's always a time frame. And it's like, but then when you get into that class, it's a different story. So
it really is. And I've told several people that that's the aspect I miss the most. It's the actual music making is the part I miss the most. I miss, you have been singing for me for 2 years now, so you know how I react. Both good and bad. When I hear something bad, but also when I hear something good, it's such an exciting thing.
Yes. Yeah.
It energizes me, and I assume it energizes you guys as singers when moments like that happen, and we are missing that. We are missing that.
Yeah.
And I am coming to realize just exactly how much that aspect of what I do means to me. You have to have it taken away in order to realize what it
If anything, we all learn out of all this whole thing is how much we appreciate a lot of different things. What we do to keep ourselves, to amuse ourselves, or just everyday living. I think that's the biggest thing, actually, that we're going to hopefully come out of this, everybody on the other side, appreciating things more.
Yeah. Well, let's hope.
Yes.
Well, thanks for speaking with us, Anita.
No, thank you. It was very nice. And I thank you for coming, for coming towards me for this. So you take care. Hopefully when we see you the next time.
All right. Take care.
Take care.